Hello and welcome. My name is Olga Chwa, and I'm here to guide you through some simple movements. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to support this channel. Here and welcome the whole body, having arrived for this practice, the whole body. The whole body. And you ask this question, where to? Where does the awareness go? What calls the attention? What needs this practice? And you might choose to be still and horizontal the whole practice. That is a fine option, a welcome choice. And you might choose to engage in some movements, to take some time to explore and to feel through the body. And we've been beginning at the far ends, at the extremities and the extremes of the extremities. And in the same way today, whether you're sitting or lying down, let the awareness go to the toes, to the hands. As you fold down the toes and crunch down the fingers, you might be lying down, and so the body might be just moving at these extremes here, the toes and the fingers. They open and they close. And that can be done sitting, and the hands go anywhere they need to go, anywhere they want to go, wherever they're comfortable, wherever they feel useful. From the toes moving into the ankles and the wrists with the same invitation. You might spread these out. You might do even one ankle at a time, slowing it down, dividing it up. You might move both ankles together, and you might move ankles and wrists together. What do you need? Do you want that complicated activity where the mind needs to think about 4 different joints, or do you want to simplify it and slow it down and do one joint at a time? So checking in with yourself, giving yourself that which you need in that aspect, in that capacity. Joint movements. And spending a few more moments combining toes with ankles, ankles with toes, as much as combining wrists with fingers, fingers with wrists. What are some of the movements available? What are some of the organic exploration, the wiggles, the fanning, the spreading? What happens when you reach with the little toes? And does that make an ankle movement that's a little different than the back and forth? Kind of a twist, even looking for that in the wrists. Is there a way to move the wrists like you've never moved them before? Rotations, drawing circles with wrists and with ankles. Same invitation. You might need to spread that out. You might need to slow it down and do just one of the 4, or you might be ambitious in getting them all in. Rotations have 2 directions. They have a clockwise and a counterclockwise, so find one and the other. And then explore more complicated shapes. What other shapes can you draw with these joints? Infinity shapes, figure 8s, wiggly, squiggly, twisty, turny shapes. You could spell your name or a favorite word, especially if you like a long favorite word with loopy letters. And this too has 2 directions. Whatever's got a movement can be reversed, forward and backward, exploring, inviting, and letting those movements in. And then taking a moment to rest, taking a moment of stillness upon completing those movements to notice, wow, that contrast, the movement and the stillness, how different they feel and how the effects of the movement can be felt. What are the wrists feeling? What are the ankles feeling? As we move the awareness up to the next set of joints, knees and elbows, you might also take your time and split them apart, take them one at a time. Lifting and lowering a leg to see what it feels like to bend the leg, to have that knee flex and to straighten it out. You might do one leg at a time. You might have the strength. You might want to strengthen yourself by doing both legs together. That's going to be demanding of the core strength. Same with the arms. The arms, you might elbow fold and open a few times. Just, what does it feel like? Where is this body available? Where does this body have strength? Where does this body have flexibility? And you might need the arms to support the legs, or you might try the limbs together as a dynamic, effortful option. Besides the closed and the opened in the knee joint, with the help of the hip joint, it's nice to explore a horizontal, so that little dash, that minus sign. That's usually best at a right angle when the knee is half bent, and you might even stabilize the thigh a little bit with the hands, whether you're sitting or lying down, to find that horizontal movement, that axis left to right. I would recommend trying it one at a time. You might get to both together, but at least one at a time to block those positions. Where's the innermost? Where's the outermost? And together is going to demand more core strength. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a different focus on the steadiness and on the strength. One at a time, we focus on the movement and then can bring that into a rotation as you explore all the places the foot can go, all the places the foot can point. Knee rotations. I love these so much. I find them so helpful to warm up the ligaments that come from the thigh and connect down to the knee. If you've got the strength to keep going, continue with a figure 8. Perhaps you prefer an infinity symbol. And whatever you're doing, see if you can keep it smooth, if you could keep it slow, if you could find all the edges of the shape you're making. And then reverse the direction, whichever way you're going, see if you can go back. Trace the steps back from your loops and your explorations. And especially if you've just been practicing with one side, this is a moment I can't get enough of. Every time, that difference, to feel what you've done, to feel what one knee exercise has done in effect. And you are your best mirror, that one side and the other side, right? Nobody else is having your experience. Nobody else did what you did. So you've proved to yourself how you're impacting your body. I feel a giant difference. I feel like the side that I worked is closer to the floor and longer and flatter. So I'm going to take a few moments to even out with a rotation. And stabilizing my thigh. As an option, you might choose to do it a little more free form. I like to focus that movement right in the knee joint. And from 2 directions of rotations into the loops and the twists, infinity, figure 8. Couple times one direction and reversing that, going in opposite direction. Left and right and right and left. And seeing if you've got that on both sides. You might have managed to include the elbows. You might be on a trajectory of ambitious, many jointed movements. If you haven't addressed the elbows, take a moment to check in with them again. And they rotate. A couple different ways to play with the elbow rotations. Often I've been teaching them as from a right angle, from this cactus position, just sort of as if in front of you. But you might also do those rotations if you were pointing your fingers and your fingers were lasers and you were drawing circles there on the ceiling. They might be out there. Different ways of rotating. You might hold the one upper arm and draw that circle on the opposite wall. A couple different ways to get at the elbow joint there. Dividing them up one at a time or both together. Woo, too many. I see both together. It's either up or out or down, I guess. You might be stirring, drawing those circles on the floor, right? Lots of options. Feel which one works for you, which one feels like it's getting something interesting. And then make it more complicated. Once you find your favorite variation of the day, from circles, reversed to infinities or figure 8s. Noticing how the shoulder blades are playing into this, what the back is doing. Woo-wee. And if you're working as hard as I am, give it a break and a rest upon completing the elbow movements, taking a moment to feel as we crawl into the body this way. We've worked with toes, ankles, and knees, as well as fingers, wrists, and elbows. Taking a breath as we bring our awareness into these biggest joints, these ball and socket joints, the hip joints and the shoulder joints. And we'll divide them up again with the option to bring them together. If you feel like it, you'll be invited to go there. But starting with the back or on the back, meaning either if you're on the floor, you're on your back, great, that's super. If you're sitting, you're still sitting on the back side of your body. So with the hips beginning, if you're sitting or lying down, moving them, right? Noticing what it feels like to lift, to lower, to just engage in that flexion when that angle is smaller, extension when the angle is bigger. And after you've found that a few times, drawing a circle, letting the knee be your laser pointer as the ball and socket there pivots around in its home. So that can be done either from a totally reclining position, fully supine, or sitting up. 2 directions in the rotations, and like you have done with all the other joints, seeing what other fancy shapes, infinities, bow ties, figure 8s might be available. Looping that all around and around. Right side, left side, maybe both together. Taking it as intensely as your body feels up for, knowing that you're making these choices. This is your practice. So you're checking in with yourself. Does that feel good? Do I want to keep doing that? How does this hip really feel? It might be a smaller circle. It might be a bigger one. And letting them rest. If you're lying on your back, getting the legs comfortable wherever that is, we'll come into the shoulders for a moment. And we haven't quite done it this way. We'll do it a little differently today. So you might watch first, you might listen. If you're on your back, our first arm movement is going to be lifting the arms overhead and bringing them back down. So whether you're lying down, this is your trajectory from the floor to over the head. And if you're sitting, same thing, right? From the arms at the sides, you're going to let them lift and let them lower. So this is actually what shoulders do, right? Shoulders, when the arms lift, that's a flexion in the anatomical understanding. That's the angle becoming smaller here. And then the extension is the arm going down. And if you're sitting up, you can go past your midline. Or if you're lying down, you got the floor there. But if you're sitting up, you can reach behind. So get your range of motion. What are the shoulders available for today with this lifting and lowering? You might try one at a time if you're feeling some difference that is worth slowing down and noticing. Some parts that are worth fine-tuning. Lifting and lowering. And then when you're ready, bring the fingertips to the shoulders. And whether you're on the floor or sitting up, the elbows can come together and apart a few times in your upper body butterfly. And you might go one at a time. You might go both together. You're going to draw circles with the elbows. And again, you might be on the floor. You might have the limit of the floor that designates how far back you go. And if you're sitting, you can reach as far back as your body lets you. One side. Take it as you need it. One side at a time or both together. Knowing you've got lots of things to do here. You've got circles in one direction. You've got circles in the opposite direction. After the circles, you've got infinity symbols or figure 8s, bigger, more nuanced movements. And those too have a direction. They have a forward way of being and a reversal, a backward way of being. And we're bringing all of those into the practice today. The shoulders moving in all of those directions. Seeing what else they might need after you work them through. All right. Let's keep going with the shoulders. You might bring an arm across the upper chest there and scoop it in with its opposite arm. Give it a little twist in the spine. If you're sitting especially, you can kind of get into the deltoid there, parts of latissimus you might be feeling. That's big back muscle, but attaches right there to the edge of the upper arm. Do it on one side, do it on the other. And if you're flexible enough, you might put the elbows inside of each other and close those forearms towards each other. It's a fun one. One side and the other. Some of you might be plenty of flexible to even grab that lower arm. It might be a little accommodation. It might be grabbing a digit, and some of you might have that flexibility to wrap it up at any go. So giving your shoulders that if they want it, if it feels welcome. And if you are going all the way there and you are lifting, remember to open away from the face. And to keep the back lower, to keep the shoulder blades down. Take another few moments with shoulders, with hips. Notice what your body needs. For another breath, we're going to continue with neck. We'll get into the spine and all the joints along. The spine will come back to the hips and the shoulders with some cat pose options. But let's take a moment here before we move into the neck to assess the joints in your body. Assess the feet and the hands, the arms and the legs, hips and shoulders. Did you get it? Did you get them all? And the neck and the shoulders are connected. So as you move your neck, you might find there's some shoulder movements to make it more lovely for yourself. That's all. If it feels good, do it. Letting the head bob forward and back in a slow motion, yes. And this might be a slow one, especially in that upward movement. Oh, you might need a moment to welcome the stretch through the front. Check also as you bring your head upright that you're lengthening through the back of the neck, that your chin's coming in, that you're really getting that length through the back of the body. Up and down. Slow motion, yes. Side to side, and this is where the shoulders, I think, can play a bigger game if they need more attention. As you move side to side, you might even rotate the shoulders, little shoulder bicycle movements. And adjusting the details there. Where are your eyes gazing? And there's no wrong or correct direction. So just noticing if you're looking straight ahead, that might feel good, but what would it feel like to look higher, to open that angle a little bit more? And how about lower, to open the back, closing the chin down in the side bend of the head, and whatever else that the shoulders might be offering to your practice. Slowly. Left and right and left, exploring these nuances, these options. From the sides, we've got two more neck movements. We've got our sitting neck twist and our rotation. So when you're ready, and there's no rush, of course, the neck has got its own speed there. When you're ready, you start at a central, right? A neutral middle position. Letting the head shake, letting the head move side to side. I like saying no. But the same thing here. You're going as far as you need to, as far as it feels good, and then seeing where else. Looking up, looking down, back there. Opening the mouth if it's not open. Bringing the air mouthwash in. To loosen the jaw. Seeing what the shoulders might contribute, how they might add. Some relief here. And the general movement is side or twisting left and right, but the specificity is your own. It's making it feel good to you. What is the neck desire? I wonder if the cold sometimes gets your shoulders climbing up. So you can give your neck that lengthening out, opening out. And we'll put all these specific movements together in the rotation. When you're ready, bring your head to the middle, check what it feels like, let the shoulders be soft. And we draw a circle and you let the nose move around and around. Slowing it down if you find rough spots or tight spots or achy spots. Watching, feeling. We've got directions with the rotations. There's a clockwise and a counterclockwise. And from the simple round shapes in one direction and the other, you'll explore other shapes like infinity or a figure 8. Following exactly what your neck needs today and in this moment. Letting the shape and the weight of the head move around and find its way. Thank you, head. Thank you, neck, for giving me perspective. Letting me see what's behind. And with these movements of the neck, this concludes the major joints of the body. You might take a moment to hang out and rest and breathe and just be there in your experience. My next invitation is to come onto the hands and knees if that's available to you, and what I offer can be done in a chair as well. So if the floor is your friend, get friendly, and if the floor is not so much your friend, stay where you are, comfortable and secure. Our focus begins with the spine, so whether you're sitting or on the hands and knees, you've got a forward bend that's available to you, rounding the back, and a backward bend, sticking the tail out, lowering the shoulder blades, looking up. And warm up the body with a few movements. And then take it to your own needs and feelings. Take it to moving and stretching and exploring different places to reach the hips, the tailbone. Here again, if you've got your part, if there's a thing in your body that's needing a special attention, let it be the boss of this practice. If it's the low back, you might even try lifting a knee, or if it's the hip, seeing what the details with the hip position might be. You might try some of the joint movements you did a moment ago in this different position, like a hip rotation, if that felt good, or if it's an elbow thing you're working through, this position might make it somehow more available. Seeing what are the joint movements can be available to you on this cat base pose. And as we've done in past weeks, the invitation for shoulders includes lengthening the hands further away, further out. So in the descent, as the weight of the body comes to the floor, this teres section, the rotator cuff section, gets its opening, its stretch all the way into the pec, through the front of the shoulder. One option. And the hips might take it the other way with the hands supporting just under the shoulders. The hips might need a leg to lift and exploring all the positions you might not think of exploring. So that twist in the foot, toes pointing in, toes pointing out if you're working with the hip. You might notice I'm keeping the leg low. You might do that and explore what the pelvis can do with that low leg position. The high leg is almost more into the spine. It's almost more into the midsection where that responsibility goes. The hip stabilizes that. But if you're letting the hip drop, maybe even you're letting the knee drop away from the other one. See, they're staggered, almost like seeing what those movements can provide. Wherever you're focusing, exploring what else is possible. Is there a rotation, a twist? Is there some other place to point? The fingers, the big toe. How can I tailor this movement and use gravity to give myself something satisfying, something that my body's really needing? And that might be rest. That might be folding it up and giving the body a folded up child's pose rest. That might be stretching it out and resting, whatever variation here, belly on the floor. And if you're seated in a chair, let yourself lean back. When you're ready for the rest, let your legs loosen any efforts wherever you are. Let the body breathe. I'll take another moment with low poses and low practices. If you are on the floor all the way down, you might come into a small cobra, a mini cobra on the elbows, lifting the upper body. That might be helpful. You might go into a bigger cobra shape if that's your jam, if you know that your body enjoys that. There are some ideas, some options. And if you're practicing from a different base position, you might be in a chair from a resting pose. That cobra could still mean that back bend, especially if you have a chair that you can hold on to. The general basis of a back bend or of a cobra is that the shoulder blades move towards each other, the chest opens, and the face looks in a different direction than the body. If there was an eye at the heart, it would look forward, and the eyes of the face look upward for cobra. So wherever you are, on the floor, on a chair, finding that back bend that the cobra is made of. And then finding rest, and that rest might be sitting on the heels, that rest might be folded up. As we'll bring our floor positions in a moment upward, giving yourself whatever you need here. In past weeks, we've done the middle sequences of the salutation. If that's something that you're feeling the need for, you might go through some of this lunging work, if that's something your hips are calling for and needing. You might make it about the low back. And you might like to move right into that middle section of a salutation with that downward dog, and you might do that independently, or you might do that as part of these sequences. You might even bring that whole thing in with the cobra and the dog and the lunge. So depending on where you are today with your body, let's use these moments in the middle to do any sort of sequencing, any focus on parts of your body, which might also mean rest. If the dynamic is not speaking to you, do not force, do not push. A variation for a chair would be the Cobra with the shoulder blades together, and then the arms up and forward bend and backward bend, and a different one, and sequencing. A few moments at your speed, at your pace, what your body needs, and you're resting in between. You're giving yourselves the moment to catch up. We'll take another 2 or 3 minutes. Well, 3 minutes is probably way too long, but up to 2 minutes. Up to 2 minutes. That'll be 20 or even 30 breaths. And you might keep it dynamic if that's what you need. You might do a slower downward dog if you love that, if you like being up there in the inversion. And you might be practicing this downward dog at this point in a way that's less strain on the upper body. You might be using a wall, a chair. Finding a right angle, or finding where the body comes into a right angle. And taking a moment here, the way you did with the cat pose, finding what this dog has for you today. Keep fine-tuning it. This is an alive practice, an alive pose. It's got the name of an animal that is quite vibrant and vivacious in human experience, right? So letting that aliveness be a part of your practice. And if you aren't standing yet, the invitation is to come on up. Let the body rise to a standing position. Feeling your feet on the thing beneath. Wherever you've landed, you might still be in a chair, and that's a fine place to be. You might be still horizontal, laying down, a wonderful choice. But if you are standing, what does it feel like to be standing? And we'll do something a little different. We'll take a tiny walk right in the space where you are. I mean, if you've got a yoga mat, it might be just a walk to the end of the yoga mat and back. Just giving the body a little opportunity after those focus movements, those stylized movements, to just do what it does. And you'll walk it into kind of the way an animal gets ready. Sometimes you've seen this with dogs, with cats, that they sort of walk around until they find their spot, their little nest where they're going to lie down. We're not going to lie down, but find that spot, bring those steps in closer and closer. Right, left leg, right foot, left foot, arriving to the middle and arrive into the center. Let the left and the right even out as you arrive into stillness. And notice what it feels like to be upright. Let the shoulders be on the back of the body, the shoulder blades be down. And this time, here's where we go backwards. This time, when you go to interlace your fingers, you've got the default. Don't stay there. Switch it over by one. So find your default and go, oh, I'm going to try it the awkward way. Flipping those fingers around in the awkward way and scooping them up. Shoulders release. You might stay on flat feet. You might rise up on the toes, if that's what the toes are needing. So give yourself this practice with the fingers interlaced wonky. This is our little acknowledging of Mercury retrograde, doing things a little off, a little awkward. But that's going to help us. It's going to help us with the awareness. It might even help your shoulders. You might feel that different tug. Rising and lowering. Rising up and lowering, arriving back at flatter feet and opening the feet to a wider position for the side bend. Letting the hands be free, at least to start with. Oh, taking any arm lifts with gentleness, with care. You might choose to engage the arms. You might choose to interlace the arms with the same invitation. If you're bringing the hands together, default, and I'm going to do the awkward. And seeing how interlacing the fingers in the unusual way might affect your side bend. In my body, I feel a different effect through the chest, around the ribs. See what you notice in your body there. And the invitation to interlace behind. And the same thing, we've got our default and say, oh, can I do it something a little different? Can I interlace it the other way? Ooh. All right. Now those movements together and in. From the center, opening the arms wide, stretching, reaching, expanding, extending. To wrap it up in a standing twist if you're standing, or a sitting twist if you're in a chair. That might be a slow game for you. That might be a fast game. You might like to make a little cardiovascular situation here. That's, again, your choice, your body. Making decisions that feel safe, that feel cautious. And if you need to, you might divide this out. The neck can be a free agent in this practice. If you're dealing with a neck thing or kind of even a shoulder thing, you might let the head move separately, coming into the twist and exploring a head movement that's separate from the rest of the body, seeing how these positions can access slightly different details in there, slightly different ligaments, slightly different tendons. And if it feels good to stand wide, stand wide. I looked it up the other day. That Olympic sport there's a biathlon. And in the biathlon, those of you who follow Winter Olympic sports, they ski, and now in the biathlon, they're given guns and they shoot guns. But I thought we could do a ski and then a bow and arrow in that wide position, right? And then you'd switch. Then you'd flip over to the other side, and you got to ski back or ski to your second target. Ski. Feet stay in place, but the arms move. This warms you up. You can give your hips a lot of movement, right? You can bring those hips open and squared, or you can keep it sort of around the shoulders where you need it. And then you'll pick up your bow and arrow, and you have 3 or 4 shots there. Biathlon, winter Olympic sports here in the snow. And if you like it, you might have another round. You might twist around again and ski. Oh, you're gonna get to the target area, to the range, and then whatever you do on one side, you'll do on both sides. So if it's one round, it's one round each side. Maybe you'll do 2. As you complete the biathlon here, give yourself a gold medal. Let yourself stand in the center there of your own winning. If you feel complete with this part, take a moment of breath. If you're still skiing and shooting, do your sport. And we'll bring this into a backward and forward bend in just a moment. So as you complete that dynamic movement, let the feet come back under the hips so that you're receiving the accolades of your performance, your gold medal there. Give yourself the gold medal. And then a backward bend before the great big bow. Yes, thank you. Yes, I did that. Backward, forward and backward. And straight up and down. So taking it as you need it. The hands might be on the back for support. They might be reaching out. You might even give your shoulders an even bigger movement if that feels good, if that feels available. And you might like the variation with the hands in the back. And if that's true, wonky again, bring them together. Oh, this is the default. How can I switch them so that they're funky back there? So it's an awkward, not quite usual hand position. The backward, the forward bend and the backward bend. And giving our shoulders something a little different, a little extra that way. We're doing it. We did it. We're moving through all the things we do. Take your time with these backward and forward bends. Notice what else you might need. We've definitely got a balancing pose ahead of us yet. And we've got some time for the personal work, the things that you happen to need. As you arrive at a moment of stillness. Before we balance the breath. Balance 2 feet on the floor. You might need another little walk if you'd like that. Make that part of your practice. Give yourself a little animal-like arriving to, I'm going to stand right. I'm going to stand right here, right here. No, I'm going to stand right here. Maybe, right here. Yeah. So that space for the balance that begins on that steadiness. You might take a moment, left foot, right foot. Knee comes up. That's where it begins, with just the knee coming up, finding that steadiness on one leg, on one foot. When you feel pretty good with the one leg up, you let the hip turn out, and you might add arms. They might just be hanging on. They might also fold into these angled positions. A game you can play. Up, up, woo. You might have a different balancing pose that you love. You might love to bring that foot up and then lean against your leg. That's fine if that's your jam. Let that be your practice. Standing on one leg is the practice of balance. So it's going to be strengthening the whole body. You're strengthening the standing leg, the core, stacking the rest of the body for balance, for stability. And it's a focus game. It's about concentration. So your eyes are fixed in one point. And the higher you choose a point, if you're looking up, making it more of an advanced practice, more challenging to look up. Extra challenging to close your eyes. If you're feeling very steady, very balanced, try closing your eyes and keeping your steadiness. See what happens. And I do like to believe that as you train your body to hold balance, as you train your body to be steady on one leg, we are training a greater balance, a greater capacity for balance in our inner worlds as well, in the non-physical. So getting your balance on. And it might be a dynamic balance. It might be I'm on one leg, but the rest of me is moving around. Notice what you need. Notice what you've done. Notice what's happening in your body and how you might make it feel good from here. What can you do? That you haven't done yet? Have you addressed everything to be addressed in your physical form here? Have you any practices for maybe a physical therapy or a personal practice that you just would like to fit in here? This is the moment. I love that we can do this, especially as each of you are in your spaces. If there's anything that has sound, if you've got a practice with a ha sound in it, some of you like ha, chop some wood practices. If some of you have just a practice of deep sounds, of exhaling with long sounds, this is welcome. We are all on mute except for me, so you might engage sound in your practice. And if you're joining us on the video on YouTube, welcome. And same thing, what is next? What is on the threshold of this moment for you? And what would make that thing amazing? What can you do now so that your next event, your next activity, perhaps you're having dinner with somebody or with yourself, or what can you do to make that excellent? What's something that would make your night a little bonus special? So that's what I leave you with, that inquiry. And I thank you for showing up, for practicing, for caring for yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you every week here on Zoom. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and leave a comment about your experience. And while you're here, please subscribe to my channel and opt in for notifications to catch the next class I upload. And then head over to olgachwa.com to join in a live event or to work one-on-one with me. I'm here to help.